$100 million reportedly, for a rapper who took stock instead of a paycheck. That's the real 50 Cent business, and it's not the records or the beef. In 2004, Vitaminwater offered him a standard endorsement check. He asked for a piece of the company instead. 3 years later, Coca-Cola bought the whole thing, and 50 Cent had run the ownership playbook before it was famous. Undervalued. The business they don't teach you. Rewind to 2003. Get Rich or Die Tryin' had just sold 872,000 copies in a single week, the biggest debut of the year. 50 Cent wasn't a rapper with a hit. He was the most valuable name in music, and, having survived 9 gunshots to get there, bulletproof in the literal sense. Every brand in America wanted his face. The usual deal was simple. A company writes a check, the artist smiles in the ad, and the company keeps everything the fame builds. That's how celebrity endorsements had always worked. 50 Cent looked at that arrangement and saw a bad trade. He wasn't renting his name anymore. Here's where the water comes in. Glacéau made Vitaminwater, and in 2004, it needed exactly what 50 Cent had. Cultural heat it couldn't manufacture on its own. The company's people pitched him on becoming the face of the brand. A normal artist takes the check and moves on. 50 Cent asked a different question entirely. What do you own, and can I own part of it? So instead of a flat endorsement fee, he negotiated equity in the company, plus his own flavor. A grape one, called Formula 50. He'd only get paid if the brand actually won, not for showing up, for building something worth buying. Understand why that swap was smart, not lucky. A check is a number someone else decides. Equity is a bet on yourself, and 50 Cent had every reason to bet. Get Rich or Die Tryin' didn't just debut at number 1. It kept selling, past 9 million copies in the United States, certified 9 times platinum. That's the leverage he was holding. He knew his name could move a product off a shelf, so he refused to sell that power for a one-time fee. The label paid him to rap. Vitaminwater, he decided, would pay him to own. If you like watching famous people quietly turn themselves into owners, you're in the right place. So he made the trade that everyone now copies. He took a reported 2.5% stake in Glacéau instead of a bigger, safer endorsement check. Think about the nerve that takes. You're being handed guaranteed money, and you say, "No, give me a slice of a company that might be worth nothing." Most people take the check. It's the rational choice right up until it isn't. 50 Cent bet that his own promotion would grow the very thing he owned a piece of. That he could inflate the value of his own equity just by being 50 Cent. It's the closest thing there is to legally printing money, if you're famous enough to move the needle. He was. Then, in 2007, the phone rang from Atlanta. In May 2007, Coca-Cola bought Glacéau for $4.1 billion in cash. Not 50 cents slice, the whole company, every brand, one check. Suddenly, that little equity stake had a real, enormous number attached to it. So how much did 50 Cent actually walk away with? Nobody outside his accountants knows for sure. Forbes and Fortune have put the gross figure near $100 million. Other reporting lands the after-tax number closer to 60. The range floats between 60 and 150 million, depending on who's counting. He's never confirmed it, and the exact digits don't really matter. What matters is the shape of the outcome. A promotional deal that paid like a founder's exit. And once he'd tasted that, he never took a flat check the same way again. That outcome rewired how he operated. The Vitaminwater exit wasn't a lottery ticket. It was a template, and he ran it again and again. He stopped chasing endorsement fees and started chasing ownership. A stake, a brand he controlled, a piece of the upside. Look at the receipts. a $4.1 billion exit on a drink he promoted for equity, a $150 million television deal a decade later, a liquor company he owns outright. Same move every time. Trade the fame for a piece, then use the fame to grow the piece. He wasn't collecting paychecks, he was collecting cap tables, and the loudest one had nothing to do with music. By 2014, 50 Cent had moved from selling songs to owning shows. He created Power, a crime drama for the premium cable network Starz, and served as an executive producer, not a hired actor, and owner of the franchise. Power became one of the most watched series on the entire network. So in 2018, Starz handed him a 4-year overall deal worth $150 million, running everything through his own banner, G-Unit Film and Television. The network's own boss called it the biggest deal in premium cable history. Same pattern as The Water. He didn't take a fee to appear. He built the asset and kept a piece of it. But even Starz wasn't the purest version of the move. Which brings us to the purest version of the whole philosophy. With Vitaminwater, he owned a slice. With Sire Spirits, he owns the entire thing. In 2018, he founded his own liquor company, Branson Cognac and Le Chemin du Roi Champagne. And this time, there's no partner, no endorsement contract, and no one who can buy him out. He's not the face of the brand. He is the brand, the owner, and the cap table all at once. It's the end game the Water deal only rented him a taste of. If you like watching how famous people actually build wealth instead of just spending it, subscribe. That's the whole channel. Because the story isn't over. Now the honest audit, because the story isn't a straight line up. In 2015, 50 Cent filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. The same man reportedly worth over $100 million a few years earlier. It wasn't fake, but it wasn't broke either. Chapter 11 reorganizes debt, and he'd been hit with millions in legal judgments he needed to restructure. He came out of it in 2017. And not every bet has landed. SMS Audio, his headphone company, quietly shut down. His Effen vodka partnership ended in litigation, not a windfall. And the Vitaminwater number itself was never disclosed, before or after the taxman took a brutal cut of whatever it was. The playbook is real. It just isn't magic. It's something you can actually copy. So here's the mechanic under all of it. 50 Cent's real skill was never rapping or even branding. It was refusing to be paid like an employee when he could be paid like an owner. He noticed, before almost anyone in his world, that fame is leverage, and leverage is worth far more as equity than as a fee. So he kept trading the check for the cap table. The records made him famous, the ownership made him rich, and a bottle of water taught him the difference. 50 Cent's edge was never the music. It was knowing that a paycheck ends and ownership compounds. Here's my question, and I actually want it in the comments. Who's the next celebrity you'd bet is quietly building an empire nobody's clocked yet? Drop the name below. The best one might become an episode. Next week, Ryan Reynolds, the actor who keeps somehow owning the companies he advertises.